These pictures taken at just the right moment are very strange and silly. They'll definitely make you feel confused, and hopefully, you'll laugh a little before you understand what's happening. People think that emergency service workers like policemen or firemen are angels. But in this case, it's true. Like sure, he only looks like he's sprouting wings because he is in front of a perfectly placed statue. But it's a good way to show on the outside how brave and protective he is on the inside too. Wearing high heels outside when you're a guy is a pretty bold move. And to be fair, this guy didn't even do it on purpose. It's actually the size and shape of the chair legs behind him that make him look like he's rocking some killer heels, but I still think that he's pulling it off. Okay, so when you first saw in this picture, what did you think? A giant bee kidnapping the sun, or a tiny sun being carried by a normal-sized bee? Either way, this forced perspective, optical illusion is pretty cool. Even if the idea of a giant bee that could carry away the sun is pretty terrifying. Now there are two explanations here. This girl is actually such a nice person, and she's sprouting angel wings. Or she's just stood in front of some awesome street art. Either way, she's so caught up in her phone that she hasn't realized what has happened, which makes it look even more like she's a real-life angel just strolling down the street. I've got to be honest. If I went diving and saw this swimming towards me, I'd probably get back to the surface as quickly as possible. I mean, true, it's just the normal human diver in the perfect position, but it really does look like some kind of freaky human pufferfish hybrid. Everyone knows that chores can feel like the devil's, but it really does look like this woman's been cursed. Why else would her laundry suddenly transform into a demon like that? And why does it look like it's staring at her? Who knows? Maybe she needs to rewatch that sheet in holy water, just to be safe. Don't you hate it when you're playing hockey and your opponent just vanishes? Well, in this case, the dude is just ducked and his helmet has flown off, but for a couple of seconds, it really did look like this guy was trying to beat an invisible player. Spooky, right? Everyone's seen those tourist pictures where it looks like you're holding up the Leaning Tower of Pisa, but I just had to include this one because it's one of the best. Just look how happy that dog looks to be helping out. And tell me, it's not one of the best pictures you've ever seen. I dare you. We've already seen a bee that was intent on carrying the sun away, but what about a van? This truck seems determined to take the sun for a ride, but where it's supposed to be delivered to is anyone's guess. So I've heard about people who lost their hair due to stress, and people say their wig has been snatched when something really impressive or shocking happens. So I guess you could say this guy's wig was snatched by Obama's speech. Either that or the woman sitting behind him finally realized she couldn't see and moved her head. Now, I've got to be honest with you. When I first saw this picture, I thought the guy had made his hair look like a tree, just as a fashion statement. I realized that the tree was behind him pretty soon afterwards. But look at that guy's outfit and tell me he wouldn't do a crazy tree hairdo, just to see if he could make it look cool. Have you ever seen a parrot crossed with a deer? Well, it turns out that there's more than one reason why you haven't. Not only is the combination totally impossible, but this picture proves that a deer-parrot crossover would be completely terrifying and not something you'd ever want flying towards you. My favorite thing about this picture is that this guy seems to know that he's got half a bikini body, and he looks totally okay with it. Look at his face. That's the face of a guy who knows that he looks great with a feather boa, even if it doesn't exactly match his top hat. I'm sure you've all heard the phrase, "You are what you eat." But this guy has taken it a step too far. I mean, that's one way to warn people not to eat too many sausages, although I'm not sure that looking like that would help him sell any. I feel really bad for the girl who got this as a holiday photo, because you literally cannot see her face at all. On the other hand, that ostrich actually really suits the long hair. And it looks pretty happy about it, as far as I can tell. If you're a bird, there's only one thing better than having 2 wings, and that's having 4. I mean, sure, this particular bird doesn't look very happy, but at least he's going to get where he is going twice as fast as all his friends, or there's just another bird behind him, and they're both totally normal. Speaking of birds, this one obviously got sick of flying because it decided to just grow legs and walk instead. In fact, this bird seems to be wearing bright pink tights and shoes, although I don't know how it managed to go into a store and buy them. So, when you've won some kind of sporting event, you obviously want to towel off. And that's twice as true if someone's just doused you in beer. Luckily, this guy's beer transformed mid-pour into a nice towel to help him dry off. Although, I think it might have changed back to beer foam as soon as this picture was taken. So obviously, when I first saw this, I was shocked at the bad word the kid was writing, but I was also kind of impressed that she was writing at her age. Then I realized she wasn't writing the graffiti, she was just crawling over it, and her parents didn't have to ground her for swearing after all. Until you realize that it's just the design of the vending machine behind him. This guy really does look like he's wearing a headdress made of vitamin water bottles. I guess that makes him the king of hydration. I wonder if he just follows people around reminding them to drink 8 glasses of water a day and take their vitamins. Now, if I was a statue that had to sit outside in the sun all day, I probably want some sunglasses too. Sure, those are actually perfectly placed traffic lights, but it really does look like Buddha decided to upgrade his look to be a bit more modern. We've had a couple of crazy animal mashups on this list so far, but this one isn't scary or hilarious. In fact, this accidental cross between a deer and a bird is probably as close as we'll ever get to a real-life Pegasus, and it looks pretty cool. Most people are worried that someone might take an unflattering picture of them. But when you compete in a sporting event on TV, then it's basically a given. I don't think either woman in this picture will be happy with it because it looks like they've both turned into one swimmer with an extra long body. Have you ever had a day where all you could think about was your caffeine fix? Well, it turns out that's not unique to humans. This dog needed a coffee so badly that he drove all the way to a drive-thru to get it, although I just can't figure out how he grew human hands or put on a watch. Let's be honest, being a wheel on a car probably isn't a very fun job, so it's not really surprising that this one decided to run away. Okay, so what really happened was the tire came off and the momentum kept it moving forward, but it is funny that it looks like it saw the road branch out and made a run for it. Do you ever wonder what your pet is dreaming of when you see them sleeping? Well, this one was obviously dreaming of a career as a supermodel. Don't believe me? Look how well they lined up with this bikini model. It's pretty obvious that they've been practicing their poses in their sleep. There are a lot of myths about identical twins that they can speak to each other telepathically, or that one knows if the other one gets hurt. I don't know if I believe that, but I do think that they can become each other's reflections. Because how else can you explain them doing this at the exact same time? Now, I feel really bad for this woman, because I guarantee whoever designed this newspaper 100% knew that this would happen. With that said, the way she's looking down is almost like she's appreciating her brand new boobs. So maybe she's not so embarrassed by this optical illusion after all. You know that cat I said was practicing to be a supermodel? Well, it should definitely meet up with this one, because I think they have a lot in common. Sure, this cat has used a paper bag to get the six-pack and muscles. It needs to be a male model, but it's definitely got the stare full of attitude down. So most of the pictures on this list have either been hilarious or weird, but they've all been pretty harmless. What this one? Well, I'm not even going to explain what looks like is happening, because if you can't tell just by looking at it, then you're probably too young to find out. Sorry, kids. You know, when your teacher is off sick and the substitute, the school brings in has absolutely no idea how to control the class. They might as well have the word help written on their foreheads. And this guy actually does. Just a reminder to be kind to your substitute teachers, guys. You never know how badly they might be coping. Thankfully, I don't have to make the obvious pun because it's already right there in the picture. With that said, it looks like this toilet might have some secret wisdom to reveal to the right person, although I'm not sure it'd be worth getting too close. I know wind turbines are supposed to be good for the environment, but I've got to be honest. This mega turbine looks way too dangerous to be good for anybody. I mean, sure, it might just be a row of perfectly normal turbines, but it does show how scary it is to have giant spinning blades just hanging out in random fields. I'm just going to go ahead and say, somebody on that plane has a quest. I mean, What other explanation is there for a plane getting hit by lightning right as it drives through the middle of a rainbow? No, someone on that plane is obviously destined to save the world. I've seen enough movies to know how this goes. Did you like one the most from these options? Or maybe you have a photo in your own family album that would definitely surprise you. Share in the comments below and connect with me. Thanks for watching.